Next is Dr. Grace T. Lewis. She's a senior health scientist at the Environmental Defense Fund, and she'll showcase data tools and online resources for air quality research and community advocacy. Dr. Lewis's vast experience in toxicology, epidemiology, biostatistics, and community engagement brings clarity to discussions of air quality, and she is instrumental in the development and implementation of useful, actionable air quality data tools. Please welcome Dr. Grace Lewis.
Thank you, everybody. I think you've teed up my presentation pretty well, so let's move forward. So today, we're going to talk about one of the things that I love, of course, which is data and tools, and how do we harness those to be able to understand air quality and its impacts on health. So this is some of the topics we'll discuss today, and I just want to begin by showing you, for those of you who are not familiar with my organization, the Environmental Defense Fund, that we take a multidisciplinary approach to tackling tough environmental issues. And this is EDF's Equity and Environmental Justice vision statement. So I'll begin with just a quick overview. Whether you live in Katy, the Heights, or Pasadena, we all share the same air. And from babies to seniors, the air we breathe affects every part of our lives. So as Dr. Johnson rightfully pointed out or illustrated, the connections between air quality and health, those chronic diseases, but also developmental diseases or conditions, whether that's in gestation or throughout the life cycle. I think those are all really important to think about. But it's not just about the health implications. There are also impacts on economics, from missed days, from lost work, from higher medical bills, and also the strain that is putting on our healthcare system. But a lot of times that burden is not shared equally. And communities located near freeways, the Houston Ship Channel, ports, whether that's inland or marine ports, and industrial facilities often face higher exposures. And that's why air quality is not just an environmental issue, it's also a matter of equity and justice. So here in Houston, we happen to know this firsthand because our city, as Dr. Flowers pointed out, has not met the clean air standards for ozone and the new standard for PM 2.5, which we are not meeting in many areas of the city. And our city also, as we saw in that first few keynote presentations from the American Lung Association in particular, ranks very highly for both particulate and ozone pollution, but we also have a high number of toxic air releases in our city. So the left part of my slide, you see NASA's TEMPO satellite imagery with nitrogen dioxide hotspots in the Houston region. And this is a powerful reminder to us that our challenges are visible, even from space. So how do we use data to educate and inform decision-making? Air quality information comes from so many different places, and Houston, as we saw in Dr. Flowers' presentation, has got more sensors actually than many cities or states in the country. And so there are also lots of scientists and government agencies, nonprofits, and community scientists who are measuring air quality and making this information accessible on different platforms. So among our data sources, we have reference grade or regulatory air monitors. We have satellites like NASA's TEMPO satellite as an example. We have community air monitoring sensors run by community groups, local government and nonprofits, and emissions inventories, which can track industry releases. Each of these is part of that puzzle to help us to more fully understand those air quality sources. And we're going to go into that in the next few slides. So we're also fortunate to have a plethora of different tools and dashboards that translate that data into something that's understandable and accessible to the average citizen. So many of you may be familiar with EPA's Air Now dashboard, but we also have local government dashboards like Harris County's pollution control services, and especially their data portal, which I find fantastic. And we have tools like the Environmental Defense Fund's Air Tracker, which uses meteorologic data to help us identify potential sources. And community and policymakers have access to these tools equitably, so they can act on a neighborhood's behalf to advocate for stronger protections and recommendations, for instance, to the Sunset Commission of the TCEQ, to city leaders who make decisions, and ultimately with the goal of connecting these dots for cleaner air, healthier families, and more equitable outcomes. So I'm going to begin the presentation and lots of slides to be able to share with you how do we find that air quality data, or what are some important sources of air quality data that we can use. And I'll begin with the TCEQ regulatory or reference grade monitors. As Dr. Johnson said, these really do represent the gold standard here. They follow EPA methodology in order to be able to do their measurements with a high level of accuracy and quality control. So the question that Vinny had posed about the different levels of instrumentation, this serves as that gold standard, whereas you have some lower cost sensors which maybe have more variability, but are lower in costs. You have medium grade sensors as well. And so we'll kind of take a look at that, but I put this one first because it is what we typically are using for a lot of enforcement and other compliance type of purposes. And according to the EPA, the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, only 1,000 out of the 3,000 plus counties in the United States have air monitors. So that's more than 2/3 of the counties in our nation without at least one air monitor in their community. And TCEQ operates about 200 air monitoring stations to comply with federal air quality standards and provide information on that localized air quality concerns, looking at pollution trends, studying the formation of pollution and its different behaviors. So they are serving that regulatory role in our state. They measure criteria pollutants. Dr. Flowers mentioned several of those, but really we have about 6 criteria pollutants. They measure volatile organic compounds, metals, and carbonyls, which are chemicals like formaldehyde. And based on the TCEQ's TAMIS website, which I'll show you soon, there are 61 of these sensors in the Houston-Galveston, Brazoria, or HGB region. And they are located, if you can see up on the top left, in these 4 counties alone. So our 8-county non-attainment region, only 4 of those counties are actually housing those monitors. You can see that the majority of those monitors measure criteria pollutants, but we do have those 17 auto GC monitors, or auto gas chromatograph monitors, which are able to give us a better understanding of what those different VOCs and pollutants are. And so we also have canister samples that measure, like Dr. Flowers was saying, like some of those volatile organic compounds, up to 150 plus different VOCs that are measured there. So you can see the distribution of these in the TCEQ's GeoTam website. So that is the one on the bottom left, where you can visualize them. It gives you a little like pie wedge to show you which different pollutants are being measured at what different location. And then the TAMIS webpage, so I've downloaded here on the right-hand side, which you absolutely cannot read from where you're sitting. Those are the 61 monitors in our region, and lists what they are measuring and what types of, it gives you also the ability to go to that website and generate a report. So I know you can't read this now, but you can certainly go to their website, and I encourage you, or if you get these slides, you can make your screen really, really big and take a look at them. We also have local government, so Harris County Pollution Control Services and the Bureau of Pollution Control and Prevention for the City of Houston Health Department, which play a really important role investigating pollution concerns, doing emergency response, doing inspections in general of different types of environmental conditions that may involve like air pollution. They also have community air monitoring programs and many other special studies that they conduct. So these are one of our other really important frontline mechanisms for us to measure air quality in our region and play that important role. We'll look more at their data very soon. And then we have NASA. So they have instruments for air quality on satellites, on airplanes, and they have ground collection ability as well. So NASA additionally funds scientists to track those sources and look at the concentrations of major pollutants and their movement through the atmosphere. And they have a team called HACAS, which is the Health and Air Quality Applied Sciences team. This is a collaborative team that works with public health officials and local agencies, but scientists in general, and they use their information and their research across the globe to benefit public health. So we also heard about a few of the mobile monitoring, so just wanted to highlight this because oftentimes after a disaster, or if you want to have rapid response, to be able to like measure what's in the air fairly quickly, to look at plumes or whatever, or to do a variety of different types. We have these mobile air monitoring labs. And so you see the TCEQ has got their smart vans. They have come out after hurricanes or industrial accidents. We have the City of Houston and its MAML, the Mobile Air Monitoring Lab. And oftentimes they complement some of the community air monitoring that is happening around the region, and maybe something that we'll be using during the World Cup to be able to go around the different areas and zones to be doing some measurement along with other local government partners. Harris County has got its RAM, which is the Rapid Ambient Air Monitoring Van, and they've got some really expensive and very sophisticated equipment to do a lot of interesting air monitoring on the go in different areas of the city. And EPA Region 6 also has a mobile laboratory. We also have universities who are doing a lot of both mobile and stationary monitoring. So we got to see some incredible pictures and information from Dr. Johnson and her team. And there are other researchers or scientists at Texas A&M. So as part of one of our building community resilience projects, we have worked with Yue Zhang and his team and the Vocus instrument. Like you can see here, our Sunnyside partners, we had an open house that allows them to go and look at the instruments within the vans to see how they are being utilized and collecting the data. But they do also do rapid response and emergency response, and in addition to understanding those background concentrations, a variety of different air pollutants, including things like microplastics and criteria and hazardous air pollutants. So University of Houston and Baylor, as in combination also with Rice University in the past, they've got some mobile equipment as well as a really impressive van, or I don't know if I call that a van, that does some of their mobile monitoring mixed with potentially ability to do stationary. And the University of Texas at Austin similarly has got a Vocus instrument. So next I want to pivot to another source of air monitoring data and information, which is exemplified here, which is our community air monitoring networks. And this is an example here is our Data to Action Community-Based Organizations, ACTS, which is achieving community tasks successfully. It was the first in our region to own and operate their own community air monitoring network. And this effort has been expanded to Galena Park, to Sunnyside, to Fifth Ward and Denver Harbor, and to Kashmir and Trinity Gardens. And these low-cost sensor networks are not used for compliance and enforcement purposes, but they play an important role in being able to help communities understand air quality patterns, where there is a need for additional reference monitoring, reference grade monitoring that is, and can be used in combination with higher grade sensors in kind of a hub and spoke type of formation, so that you can help to understand, like, how do you complement the regulatory air monitors and try to have more actionable information on a quicker time frame for communities to be able to gather that information. Because a lot of times you call on different agencies and it takes them quite a bit of time to be able to get out to communities. And so these low-cost sensors are able to gather data that then you can use to supplement and compare when there is more high-quality measurements being taken. Another thing that is important to understand is that there is a really strong collaboration with both the city and the county. They play an important technical role in being able to share their knowledge and information so that the community air monitoring is more robust. There's ability to be able to co-locate and to calibrate their instruments, and how are they using the same instruments purposefully oftentimes, so that you can have an apples to apples comparison with low-cost sensors, and that makes the information more impactful and the ability to communicate more quickly and understand what that really translates to. So I think that is pretty exciting, and later in my presentation we'll take a look at more of these community air monitoring network information. We also have nonprofits like Air Alliance Houston, which have played an important role in making low-cost sensors accessible to communities and residents who have concerns about their air quality because they may be living adjacent to a facility or in an overburdened community. So they have an Air Ambassadors program, and I'm sure that Air Alliance Houston, we've got several members here, will be happy to talk to you about that, maybe at a break or at lunch. And how that is really used for empowering citizens for education and for advocacy. EDF similarly works with community leaders and everyday citizens, as well as local government partners and businesses. So you can see here we equipped the Google Street View car with air monitors on top of them and drove around the city to measure air quality. And we support innovative ways to understand exposures with the goal of improving public health, especially for the most vulnerable communities who are located or next to industrial sources that are clustered in their communities. There is also the network of 25 national ambient air toxic sites. So Houston had one. It was here from 2003 to 2018. I certainly put in my air monitoring network plan that we should have another one because we are some of the producers of the largest amounts of air toxics in the nation. And these sites measure hazardous air pollutants. And the NATS and ATTS network, you can see the distribution of them here on this map on the left-hand side. Is used to assess trends. It's used for emission reduction program effectiveness evaluations and for assessing and verifying air quality models and to provide data for direct input to source receptor models. So why is this important? Because these are what is helping us to create those estimated models for national ambient air toxics, and that we'll see in a later slide. You can also access, as you can see on the right-hand side, historical hazardous air pollutant or HAPS data from these ambient air monitoring archives, which are organized by year, by state, and they also, if you go to that website, you can find the data is already summarized, so it makes it very useful. And we use emissions inventories. And so I'm showing you two of the main ones that are produced by the EPA. One is the National Emissions Inventory, and it's a comprehensive database of air pollutant emissions from industrial facilities, from vehicles, from small businesses, and even natural sources. It provides the backbone for air quality modeling, regulatory planning, and research by showing what is emitted, where, and how much. So communities, policymakers, and scientists rely on the NEI, the National Emissions Inventory, to track those trends, design clean air strategies, and protect public health. We also have the Toxic Release Inventory, another EPA database, and this shows us which particular chemicals are released into the air, the water, or land each year by industrial or federal facilities. So each of these facilities is required to report, even though they are self-reporting,